Ever consider making your own nut butter? I'm Marcia McDonald with Pacific Northwest Suburban Homesteading. Today, Shonna discusses good reasons why you might and demonstrates the simplicity of the process with her half and half almond and peanut butter.
A peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I know parts of the world think this is a weird combination, but here we love it. It's a regular staple in a kid's school lunchbox. Here's a little trick I learned. If you're packing this to eat for later, spread peanut butter on both slices of bread and then put the jelly in the middle. It keeps the jelly from making the bread soggy if it's going to sit for a while. Dry roasted peanuts, sugar, hydrogenated vegetable oil, molasses, and salt. Okay, this is what I'm really here to talk about. We know jelly is supposed to be a sweet treat. Many of you probably watched me make peach jam in a previous video on this channel. And yes, this does take a lot of sugar. But really, there's no need for peanut butter to have added sugar, and this has not one, but two types of sugar. Some peanut butters even have a sugar substitute called xylitol in it. Xylitol can be called wood sugar or birch sugar on the label. Xylitol is fairly benign as far as humans go, but do any of you humans out there have a dog? Do you maybe hide their pills in peanut butter? Well, xylitol is toxic to dogs. You may think you're giving them a nice little treat, but even a small amount of xylitol can cause your dog hypoglycemia and liver damage or worse. Always read your labels. I'm also concerned about the hydrogenated vegetable oils. This label doesn't actually tell me whether they're fully or partially hydrogenated. Hydrogenation is a process of adding hydrogen to make a normally liquid oil solid at room temperature. This just keeps the peanut butter from separating. Fully hydrogenated oils are saturated fats, not terribly bad for you, but something you should limit in a healthy diet. Partially hydrogenated oils are the ones that turn into trans fats in your system, and they're to be avoided. You can certainly find natural peanut butters on the market, but I still encourage you to read the labels. It's surprising what is actually considered natural. All that peanut butter, or really any nut butter, needs is nuts of your choice, maybe a bit of salt, and a dash of oil if the nuts are a little on the dry side. So if it's that simple, why not make your own? And yes, a lot of grocery stores have machines where you can grind your own nut butters in bulk. It is quite convenient. All I'm saying is that maybe you should find a clerk at that store, ask when the last time that machine was cleaned, and make your decisions based on that answer. The other reason I'd like to make my own nut butter is that generally nuts cost less per pound than commercially processed nut butter of the same volume. You're going to need nuts. I have peanuts and almonds, and I'm going to make a nice blend of them. You can use anything you like: cashews, sunflower seeds, filberts. Yes, I know the rest of the world calls them hazelnuts, but that's what we call them here in the Pacific Northwest. It's been said that this region grows filberts, but sells hazelnuts. Salt is optional, and it's entirely to your taste. It can be plain salt, sea salt, whatever you like. Just use a fine grain salt because we want it to disappear into the nut butter. If the nuts you're using are already salted, you might not need extra salt at all. Oil. I prefer to use more heart-healthy oils like olive oil. If you prefer your peanut butter to be as pure as possible, use peanut oil. Does using a liquid oil mean that the nut butter will separate at room temperature? Sure. So, keep it in your refrigerator. Problem solved.
If you do get separation in either homemade or commercially prepared nut butter, I use a sturdy butter knife to integrate everything. I've also seen devices that you can buy to do the job if you want to get fancy.
And you're going to need something to grind it in. I'm going to use two different appliances today: a food processor. The food processor has a flat double blade that spins sideways, and a blender. while a blender has generally 4 blades that tend to spin the contents up and around. Whatever you use, make sure it's sturdy and has a good motor. Grinding nut butter is a heavy load and it can burn out some of the lighter appliances. So let's start with the food processor. I'm going to add a cup of peanuts and a cup of almonds. And I just close the lid and give it a pulse a few times. As everything is getting ground down, I can stop and see how it looks. This is actually looking fairly dry, so I'm going to add just a drizzle of oil to help it be a little more smooth. And then I'll just keep processing it until I get the consistency that I want. I actually prefer chunky peanut butter, so I may stop before it's completely smooth. Now that it's got a spreadable consistency, time for a taste test. The nuts had sticky. The nuts had enough salt on them that I don't need to add any extra. So, there's our first batch. Downside of food processors, they do sometimes tend to throw little bits and pieces around. Let's try it in the blender next and see what happens. All right, nut butter in a blender. Same recipe, so we can compare the results. 1 cup of peanuts and 1 cup of almonds. Blenders are a little funny when it comes to making nut butter. Remember how I said that the blades spin the contents up? Well, because nut butter is thick product that can get very sticky, it gets pushed up from the blade and then sticks together, and pretty soon you have a dome forming over the blades and nothing getting in the blades at all. So you really need a blender with a push stick. This blender is designed very well. As long as I use the push stick through the hole in the lid, this flange means it will never come in contact with the spinning blades. So here we go. Again, we need to add a little oil just to make it nice and smooth. And you'll notice I'm not turning it up to full speed. I'm keeping it at a medium-low grind, so it's like having your car in low gear. It's got more torque to the blades and less speed, because we don't need speed here. We just need a good, sturdy grinding action. That's pretty smooth. Time for a taste test. Can't imagine it would be any different. I was using the same mix of the same nuts, so it'll probably be just salty enough. Yeah, that's good. The funniest thing though, the friction of the blades as you're grinding your nuts actually generates heat. This peanut butter is extremely warm. That is a weird sensation. So let's compare the results. Honestly, I can't tell the difference. They look about the same. They taste about the same. So whatever appliance you have, whatever works for you, happy grinding. Okay, so this is half peanut and half almond butter. So cheers.
What do you think?
Well,
Sticky.
it's doing its job as nut butter. And I've never had the combination of almond and peanut butter. And I like it because it's more mild than almond butter. But it's got that special something to it. It's like a zhuzhed up peanut butter.
I'm glad you like it.
Homemade nut butters are simple to make and delicious. Don't be at the mercy of commercial brands. You can control the ingredients, including the kind of nuts or seeds that you use. Have fun with combinations or just enjoy the classic peanut butter minus the unneeded sweeteners. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Until next time, be curious, keep an open mind, and never stop learning.